Greetings, everyone, and welcome again to another edition of OSI Today, the podcast featuring news and views from around the Office of Special Investigations. I'm Wayne Amon from OSI Public Affairs, and I'm very happy to be joined today by Ms. Jakki Dixon, OSI's Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer. Jakki, great to see you in person once again, especially during COVID, and welcome to the program.
Well, thank you so much, Wayne. I'm excited to be here today, humbled actually. So I look forward, to conversating with you about diversity plus inclusion.
Right. Now let's go ahead and dive right in, shall we? Now, for the benefit of our listeners who still may not be clear on exactly what diversity and inclusion is as it relates to an organization like OSI, in layman's terms, could you explain what it is and what it's designed to do?
Yes, I sure can. Diversity plus inclusion is understanding and respecting differences and similarities between people and cultures to create that positive climate in which all employees can bring their best and authentic selves to work. It enables us as leaders to leverage diverse talent in an inclusive culture to enhance mission effectiveness. But in its simplest terms, diversity plus inclusion is diversity is having a seat at the table. Inclusion is having a voice. And when we add belonging to that, that is having your individual voice heard.
It seems like kind of a delicate balance there, would you agree?
Yes, I would agree, yes.
Now, in your role as OSI's Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer, what are your overall responsibilities as the manager of such an extensive program like this? And having to get it off the ground from the ground up, as it were.
Oh, yes, Wayne. That was
I remember when you took over that job.
You're absolutely right. That was the challenge. But then I had to remember, as so many other individuals shared with me, it was like my blank landscape, my canvas to kind of create what we wanted to create for the command, what was the best fit for OSI.
Yeah. And I knew that you really embraced it, too, I imagine.
I have. It's hard to believe it's been 2 years already, this month, December. So, but I'm enjoying it, and I just know that there's just so much more, to come. But in my role as the D&I officer, I serve as the advocate to the OSI commander and senior leaders.
Right.
And in that role as a D&I advocate, I also advocate for D&I resources, initiatives, best practices, and education and training. Plugging into the big Air Force meetings is crucial as the D&I officer, because we need to have OSI's voice heard also at the table when we're sharing on D&I activities and what we're doing across the portfolio. I also have the opportunity to partner with some of the MAGCOM D&I officers to create synergy across the Department of the Air Force enterprise. So it's been an exciting 2 years.
Now, in developing that synergy, have you picked up like lessons learned from other organizations and things like this? And I would imagine that's a big part of it, because something that works, you want to replicate.
Yes, exactly. And you hit it right on the word, replicate. There may be things that other MAGCOMs are doing that just aren't a great fit for OSI, but it's great to have that conversation with each other. And as you mentioned, coming into the role, I had the opportunity to benchmark with NCIS, ATF, FBI, and so many other organizations, AFRC, ACC, PACAF. So it was just huge, picking each of their brains and then pulling out those nuggets that we thought may be a good fit for OSI, and were foundational in us developing our charter.
Wow, that seems like a tall order, but I know. And we'll get into this a little bit later. Having a council to help you with that really must be gratifying for you, knowing that other people within the organization think that much of that particular program that they really want to dive into it, feet first.
Yes, exactly. And I tell you, I could talk about the council all day.
I will get into the council. That's for sure.
Yes, we will.
Now, in a winter 2019 Global Reliance magazine article, you said, and I'm quoting here, Jakki, "Diversity and inclusion are rooted in acceptance and respect, and this is the foundation from which I will operate as the D&I officer for OSI." What made those particular words resonate so much with you?
That's a great question. And when I think about it often, why did you pick those two words? But, I'll back up a little bit to just the word rooted. When you look at that as something that's established deeply and firmly, in place.
Right.
And this is where I see family, not only blood, but those family members that become family through our association and our bond. People need to feel accepted and respected.
Yeah.
And when they do, it further creates that sense of belonging. And, that's so powerful in the diversity and inclusion world, that sense of belonging. And just like many of our families, we may not agree on everything. And we know that, about family.
Well, family members argue sometimes too.
Yes, indeed. We may not agree, yet we should feel safe to voice our thoughts and feelings and to seek a better understanding of each other's viewpoints. So that's why I chose those words, accepted and respected. And this is where I want to remain as our D&I advocate. I feel that, I don't have a door right now in this COVID environment, but I do have a telephone. And I
Right.
feel that anyone should be able to call me to just talk about D&I matters. What are we doing? If it's not clear, you should know that you can come to me directly and just ask.
Yeah.
The information's out on the SharePoint site, but I'm available to anyone, 24/7 to talk about D&I.
Sure.
I love talking about D&I.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And one thing that I'd just like to also bring home, Wayne, as we're talking about diversity plus inclusion, it really is leadership focused. All of our Air Force personnel, military and civilians, are responsible for creating an inclusive organizational culture and do it in a way that is a reflection of our very own Air Force core values. Integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all we do.
Yeah. Now, backing up just a little bit, Jakki, you mentioned one of the key words, acceptance. And when I hear that word, I think of back in my younger school days, learning about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And one of them is the sense of belonging, it's something
Yes.
bigger than yourself.
Yes.
Do you kind of see D&I in that light as well?
I do. I absolutely do. When we create that space where individuals view OSI as the employer of choice, that's a win-win for everyone. A place where they feel accepted, respected, that they belong. And when you use the word family, that should mean something to you. When you bring somebody on board and tell them you're a part of the OSI family,
Right.
you're telling them, I accept you, I respect you. I'm taking everything that you have with you.
Differences and all.
Differences and all.
Yeah,
I'm bringing
that's
this into this family. Yes.
Very, very good. Next up, Jakki, one of the initial D&I duties you undertook when you became the first chief D&I officer was to establish the formal council that we alluded to earlier to implement and advance D&I priorities throughout the command. What can you tell us about where the council stands now that it's been operating for, you said, close to a couple of years now?
Yes, so the council has been in place now for 1 year, actually, this past
okay,
August.
1 year, I'm sorry.
August 20, yes. I've been in the seat 2 years, but the council has been in place for 1 year.
You've done enough work for 2 years, though.
I feel like it some
Right.
days, but I tell you, Wayne, I could brag about the council all day long, as I alluded to earlier. This group of individuals volunteered to commit 100% of their time and effort, and that's doing their day-to-day work, too,
Oh,
to
yeah,
this
yeah.
council so that we could move OSI D&I initiatives.
Sure.
And there's no way the actions that we've accomplished to date could have been done without this council. There's no way I could have gotten to them, by myself. When I think about the drafting and coordinating and publishing of CC's OSI D+I action plan, assisting with the foundation of what will become our D&I video profiles,
Yeah,
launching our first D&I or Pride panel, back in June. And then proactively, we're seeing units below the council level developing their own D&I committees at regions, debts, and squadrons. That's how we know we're making a difference in the command with diversity plus inclusion.
Sounds like it's really taking root then at that particular level.
And that was the goal. When we came together last August, 2019, we talked about wanting to develop D&I practitioners, and that's what should have came out of it, and that's what's coming. As a result of the council and their efforts and the messaging that we're doing.
Yeah.
And I often tell our council, when you see Jakki and diversity plus inclusion, you see you. We're all in this together, so I'm beyond grateful for this council. cross-functional team that I'm honored to be a part of.
Yeah. Speaking of the workings of the council, how big is it as far as how many members are on the council? And you mentioned they got some subcommittees now and what have you. So how many folks are we talking about that are helping you out in this endeavor?
So our council is chartered to be no more than 24 individuals, and our council consists of agents, professional staff, intelligence specialists, and reservists. So we have everything within the command outside of our contractors, who we also value, but there were just some limitations within the charter for contractors to participate. But contractors, by all means, are able to participate at their lower levels, you know, the units, the debts, and the squadrons, and that's where the teams, that's where that volunteer army kind of comes into play.
There you go.
Because it takes a tribe, to move
it does.
this effort, and the council can't just do it alone.
Yeah, very, very good. Jackie, when OSI Commander Brigadier General Terry Bullard signed the OSI D&I Charter in September of 2019, he charged the council with reaching goals for the command. What are those goals that he wanted the command to reach, and what are the metrics that you use and the council uses to gauge how those goals are attained?
Well, Wayne, General Bullard was very deliberate himself about, the goals that he wanted for the council and for the command. So the first goal was to demonstrate increased leadership commitment at all levels through deliberate engagement and accountability. The second goal, attract and recruit diverse and highly effective talent. Third goal, develop diverse, inclusive teammates and highly effective teams. And then the fourth goal was to retain diverse and highly effective talent. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this past August, General Bullard signed his Diversity Plus Inclusion Plan, which announced our strategy. So out of that strategy has grown 4 working groups that we're actively, working on as a council to hunt for those D&I indicators to assess in the identification of meaningful metrics. So the 4 areas that we're looking at right now are policy and program. Are there any barriers in our current policies and programs? We are developing a pre-screening recruitment questionnaire, to look at standardization across the command. An inclusive onboarding experience to look at employee engagement. And the exit interview process, standardization and consistency. Now, keeping in mind, the Diversity and Inclusion Council doesn't own any of these processes, so it is key that we are engaged with our headquarters program managers, building those strong relationships. Many of our program managers serve as advisors to the council under the charter. So we're working with these individuals so that we can get at those indicators to help us lay the foundation to track and monitor our meaningful metrics. So we're not there yet, but we're getting there because our first outbrief is within 2 weeks.
Yes. Okay, so we're looking at near the end of the calendar year then? Near
the end of the calendar year, we'll have at least a vector check completed and then a decision brief in January with the boss.
I see. And then that's when the way ahead is pretty much set into motion?
We're going to start announcing that. And, it depends. If the boss is going to buy off on everything that we're proposing and he's aware of it and so far has given the green light, we're definitely headed in the right direction. And as we talk about on the council oftenly, the bottom line, we may attract diversity, but if we do not embrace inclusion and belonging, we run the risk of individuals not staying with the command.
I see what you're saying. Well, and that was a great segue into my next question, which is you always make it a point, instead of referring to D and I, you say D plus I. It's like an equation. So why is that particular way of talking about the way I would say D and I, or you say D plus I, important in your view?
Right. Well, we all want to have something catchy, when we come into a position.
Your signature phrase, right?
Yes, something to hang our hat on at
but
the end of the day. But I can see what you mean
when you're talking about an equation, because for the equation to be correct, you need both things to mesh together, I would imagine.
Exactly. And, as I just said, it's our intentional messaging of diversity plus inclusion as an equation. It's the sum of who we are and the beneficial opportunities that diversity plus inclusion creates. It creates innovation, commitment, access, respect, collaboration, empowerment, accountability, cultural awareness,
Sure.
relationship management, and trust. Any way that we can operationalize inclusion and leverage diversity is an investment in the OSI that we need.
Right. So this is really laying a lot of foundational building blocks for the OSI of tomorrow, and the OSI that we need, as General Bullard likes to say.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And we all bring a little bit of this with us. We it's important that when we even talk about the word diversity, that we acknowledge that it extends beyond gender and race.
Right.
It gets into diversity of thought, that cognitive diversity,
Yeah.
how teams, mesh with each other.
Yeah.
Our global diversity when we're dealing with our foreign partners, things
Right,
like that.
right.
How do we equip ourselves, for this? Each of us have our own pockets of diversity within ourselves.
Sure. Wow, it's quite an undertaking, no doubt about that. Jakki, former Chief of Staff of the Air Force, General David Goldfein, told the March 2019 Air Force Association Air Warfare Symposium that, quote, improving diversity and acceptance across the Air Force is not just about being politically correct, it's a warfighting imperative. Now, with that kind of strong language as an impetus, and also what current Chief of Staff of the Air Force, General Charles Brown, has said in various platforms, being such a big proponent of D&I as well, how does having leadership support like that positively impact OSI's D&I culture?
Right. Well, thank you so much. And you're right. Hands down, our leadership team recognizes that everyone has a story. And it's through these stories that we get to know more about our teammates and their unique abilities. I've spoken with our top 4 on diversity plus inclusion, and from each conversation,
Right.
I've grown to respect and admire this team even more and more, because collectively their efforts are ensuring that we, the OSI, are intentional and deliberate in our diversity plus inclusion efforts.
Yeah.
And it's indicative in each email that's crafted, each briefing, that's given. You see the sincerity in all
Yeah,
4 of the
yeah,
leadership team.
yeah.
They're committed to this. They're focused on it. They're hunting for it, just like the rest of us.
Seems like it's
And
really become a staple.
It is, and I am so proud, of the work that we've done to date, and I know that it's just going to grow and grow, even more. And as you mentioned, Chief of Staff Brown, General Brown, hopefully everyone has read, his Accelerate Change
Yeah,
or Lose document.
Yeah.
But what jumped out at me, and if you don't mind me just sharing,
Sure,
pretty
sure.
briefly, Wayne, is
Yep.
our airmen must be multi-capable and adaptable team builders as an innovative and courageous problem solvers, and demonstrate value in the diversity of thought, ingenuity, and initiative. We must develop leaders with the appropriate tools to create and sustain an environment in which all airmen can reach their full potential, valuing the many aspects of diversity within our Air Force. And
Powerful words.
when I read that, and a few of our council members read it too, and they were just as excited too, because here we come off of Chief Goldfein's,
Right.
Chief of Staff Goldfein's words, and then General Brown comes on board, and it's just like it's just getting better.
Yeah,
The opportunities are there, but we have to be deliberate in our efforts to tap into that diversity of thought,
Yeah.
tap into those diverse teams, perspectives, beliefs. We just have to be deliberate about it.
Yeah.
And when we talk about attract, recruit, develop talent, ultimately diversity plus inclusion is not a nice to have, it's a must to have.
Right.
And it's a proven driver of better performance.
Yeah, no doubt that it's going to be a mover and shaker as we all move forward from Department of the Air Force, Space Force, OSI, right down the line.
Yes, you're right, Wayne.
Since now we're going to get into kind of present day stuff about COVID-19. Since much of OSI's D&I initiative has been operating during the pandemic, if you will, what impact has the COVID-19 situation had on the initiative with respect to carrying out the charter for D&I at OSI?
Yes, well, like everything, it's been a challenge. But
But no one could have expected this. When
No.
D&I first came on board here at OSI that this was an added challenge that was going to be put into the mix.
Yes, you're absolutely right, Wayne. But I have to be honest, even the pessimist in me, technology has been the game changer, under COVID, for our council. We continue to meet and collaborate on Zoom Gov or Microsoft Teams. So the impact right now has been minimal, especially when I look at during this time, we were able to get CC's Diversity Plus Inclusion Plan published and released, throughout the command, laying out his framework to meet the OSI D&I goals. And when the boss signed the plan, he also attended the very next council meeting. And at that meeting, he charged us as a council to breathe life into this plan. And you sitting there on the Zoom with the boss going, how are we going to do this? But we knew, and he said it, I trust you. That's got
to really be gratifying for you and the rest of the council members to know that the boss himself is saying, hey, this is something that I value, and I value my people taking care of it for us.
Yes, exactly, Wayne. And as the boss shared with us right now, this is just words on paper.
Yeah.
So he charged us again, to breathe life into it. And we know from Simon Sinek that words may inspire, but only action creates change.
There you go. Good words to live by. As we get near the end here, Jakki, as another year approaches and the uncertainty of how long COVID-19 is going to be with us, what do you see that's next on the horizon for OSI's Diversity Plus Inclusion program, both short and long term?
That's another good question, Wayne. I tell you, short term.
With everything driven by COVID-19, I understand the way things are going on right now.
Yes, indeed. Short term is to stay focused on the action plan. Built within the action plan was the requirement to have it reassessed every 6 months to gauge progress and to identify any needed adjustments. So that's our short-term plan.
Sure.
Long-term is to continue to advocate for OSI's D&I Air Force. Everything is changing across the portfolio. At Big Air Force, with the addition of Space Command, our mission sets are changing. Cyber is coming into play. So we have to, kind of stay focused on those opportunities too, where we can leverage, diversity plus inclusion.
Sure.
Find those best practices and bring them back to OSI for replication, if appropriate. It may not be a good fit for us, but we can always consider it. And then build deliberate partnerships with our headquarters, PMs, to help us continue to identify those meaningful diversity plus inclusion, indicators. Because we want future generations to see that we heard our teammates right now, and we cared enough to do the right things. So another long-term action will be a development of a diversity plus inclusion SOP.
Okay.
So that we can, put some accountability behind our words also and our actions.
Okay, very good, Jakki. Finally, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Whew. I could always
you
talk about
you said a lot.
this.
I know.
Right? I know. I feel like I've talked your ear off.
No. It's all good words to live by and to go forward with, and that's why you may not have anything else to add, but I really think you said so much of worth that people can really latch on to, not only in the command, but in the Air Force as well. Like I said, OSI kind of picks the brain of other successful programs. There's nothing that says other programs can check out OSI's and say, hey, OSI is doing it the right way. Why don't we do that?
Right. And it's funny you mention that, because we have had opportunities for other agencies to come to us
is that right?
and just talk to us about our program. How did you get started? What were some of your best practices that you learned? What were some risks that you were willing to take, or strengths and weaknesses, and we've shared those with each, other agencies very freely. There's no secret sauce here. We're all just trying to figure out what's best for each other.
Very good.
But when I sit in this diversity and inclusion space, I'm encouraged by the opportunities and benefits that diversity and inclusion has brought. Over the last 9 months, it's been taxing for everyone. Under COVID. The unrest, in our nation.
Sure.
But each time, Wayne, our team show up and, as my mom would say, show out, and I'm just inspired, by the entire command, I feel that we've grown, through our crucial conversations, having those, below the waterline conversations
Yeah,
with our
yeah.
teammates to really get to know that person sitting
Yeah.
next to me. And I think, never in a thousand years would I have imagined that when General Bullard and Chief Burn Flint, released the DO 300 initiative,
Right.
that OSI would be postured to have a plan in place already for our teammates to, take that time to just step back and get to know each other.
Sure.
And develop that connectedness, that teams, just organically, should strive
yeah.
for.
Sure.
And this is the power and the beauty, of diversity and inclusion in leadership, is getting to know each other below the waterline, learning about what makes us really tick as those big A airmen, as
Yeah,
leaders,
yeah.
as parents, as friends.
Yeah.
What's really in our values, our beliefs, and our perceptions. And, asking those questions why, remaining curious, to learn a little bit more about each other.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
just been awesome, watching how each of the command members have grown, in that space.
Sure.
I think in closing, I would just say that in this position, I'm standing on the shoulders of so many other individuals that have come before me to move, OSI in the direction of the proper advocation of diversity plus inclusion, and seizing those opportunities to deliberately and proactively leverage D+I in defense of our nation.
Very well said, Jakki. Our guest has been Ms. Jakki Dixon, OSI Chief Diversity Plus Inclusion Officer. Jakki, once again, thanks for taking the time to be with us, and hope to see you in person again real soon. And thank all of you for joining us on OSI Today. For OSI Today, I'm Wayne Amon saying so long for now.